Okay, great. Thank you for being here. Please go ahead and introduce yourself. I'm also looking at your bio. It says founder, the Modern Diasporan Club. That's quite fascinating. Do you want to formally introduce yourself? That way, I'm not making any assumptions. Go ahead,
Sure,
please.
sure,
Thank
no
you.
problem. My name is Alton Jackson. I've been on Clubhouse for I think a little, maybe a year and a half or so. My background is in the technology space. Been in the software industry here in the U.S. for about 25 years. I have interest, very deep interest in agribusiness processing in Africa, specifically right now West Africa, and I joined this group because I like I joined this conversation because I like the topic. I'm getting to financing round and a project I've been working on for a bit, and just wanted to hear some other people, get some ideas and thoughts as we start to put the package together to fund a project I've been working on for a while. So, thank you for allowing me to come to the stage. And I'm open to any kind of dialogue or conversation to help out other people, help out myself, and just add to and contribute to the club overall. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for being here. You're in the right space for sure. So I work really at the intersection of business and government, right, to advance economic development. I'm here in the US. So I also sit on the council by appointment of the US Secretary of Commerce, the Illinois District Export Council, and we advance US exports. And I also work directly with the African Union Office for Economic Development, Trade, Industry, Mining. And the link up above just shows highlights of some of the events we've hosted over the years. We work with C level stakeholders, investors across sectors. So really, what we do is we play more of an orchestrator role. We also provide education and connection, right? Because at the end of the day, everybody knows, this is the general saying, oh, there's so many opportunities. There's so many opportunities, right? Everybody gets a feel there's the opportunity in agriculture, in this, in that. So there's a lot of chatter, okay? But what people don't have is the knowledge, capacity, resources, and relationships to convert those opportunities into transactions. Okay. That's really the biggest gap is that people don't have the knowledge, the relationship, and the resources to explore the opportunities that exist and translate it into business, trade, and investment transactions, mutually beneficial, right? That's the gap. Everybody talks about the opportunities. People don't have the skills, manpower, resources, relationship connections to get it off the ground. So those are the things that we breach at Nazari. We breach those conversations, we breach relationship, we breach education, we breach trade information. So, for example, my TV show, even here in Illinois, um, the people we have lined up are government stakeholders in the US. And also in my platforms, events, we usually have like US government, those who are advancing economic development, really to ground them to say, okay, how do you support stakeholders that want to be on the front lines, right? What information do they need to know, whether it's exports, whether it's import, right? Whether it's just playing a facilitation role, maybe you're a consultant, right? So all of these things, a lot of the classes and programs I've also put together. It's that it's so personal. It's more of what do you want, right? What's given all the opportunities, so you want to explore the opportunities and then you say, okay, what do I want? So for example, you want to dive into the world of agriculture. Now, what country, right? Processing, at what level? Is it at the sourcing level? Is it the value addition level? Is it the distribution packaging level, right? Those type of clarity is what we help our clients uncover. And then what resources do you need? What relationships do you need to really make sure that when you're going in well informed? The other thing that happens quite often, there are tons of stories of what people have attempted to do that didn't work out. And for me, my assessment, many of those things that didn't work out, that failed, many of it could have been prevented if the stakeholders, those who were in the middle, were really engaging with the right expertise and those who actually have the knowledge. So that's, I know I'm just speaking in general because this topics, you start with general, but then it depends on the particulars because it's a very broad topic, but we do have a lot of experts within our network. Go ahead, please.
No, definitely. Interested in talking further. Where we are right now is we are working on a project that was initially started by the African Development Bank in setting up infrastructure in countries on the continent, specifically in the rural areas, to create value added business zones to ensure that the agricultural development that is required to establish the larger cities um, is formed. And so we are literally at the place now where we are talking with a bank for getting a capital investment for some equipment that we'll be shipping overseas to West Africa. Looking at negotiating some operating capital. We already have our business model set up. We know what variables we are playing with. And once we start getting um, our initial offer back from a bank and understanding the costs to operate in this business zone, we're going to run through some scenarios and start looking for counter offers, looking to negotiate, looking to find avenues on putting the pieces together of this puzzle. So I'm definitely interested and
Hmm.
open to networking, connecting, talking, and just doing, make myself available for whatever is required to see this initial project
Right. I mean,
fly.
definitely, you said it's definitely a puzzle. Sounds like it. What's not clear to me exactly is the role you are playing, and
Yeah,
the fact that. So I don't want to make any assumptions. Are you here in the
sure.
U.S.?
I am
So you're seeking financing outside of the U.S.
correct.
Okay. If you were my client, have you explored financing in the US?
I have. I've actually done that for the past 10 years, ran into all types of interesting situations. I was part of a group
Hmm.
that was, whenever Obama came into office, they had a Africa Development Marketplace business plan competition. My partners and I were selected, one of 55 selected out of about 1,000 applicants from the continent and the diaspora to come and meet international financiers for projects like what we are working on. Because the replay is on, I won't go into too many details, but we just saw and learned a lot. It was given a lot of great advice and insight, and we just continue to pursue. Um, and then in 2016, we went for financing again through the International Finance Corporation. We were approved for political risk insurance, but when it came to the financing package, because of the current administration that went into office, we were explicitly directed to know that we would not be financed because that was not the pulse of the administration at that time. And so, like I
Hmm.
said, there's a lot of other connections that we've made.
Hmm.
Our focus was, let's focus on getting indigenous financing so that we don't run into any of the trappings that we had previously. And that is seeming to work very well. We're just dealing with some high interest rates right now, but we're going to use some of those offers for the high interest rate from a capital investment standpoint to begin to look for counter offers. We're going to run the numbers through our models. We have enough international connections that have agreed to partner with us that we will be able to specifically let them know what it is that we need in order for us to fly. But I saw you pop up as I was here working with this title, and I just decided to jump on and connect and just kind of see what all else is out there.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to strategy, when it comes to market entry strategy, there are different avenues to entering the market. But it sounds to me like you're bearing 100% risk. You're. I'm making an assumption because I don't have the details of this project, but I'm just in listening to you. Pretty much, you're bearing all the risks. Correct?
That is correct. Yep.
Yeah, I wouldn't. That's not something I advise my clients to do. Is that
Sure.
because if anything happens, then it's on you 100%, right? So
Correct.
so yeah, I mean there are different. Some of the things I help people structure is not just even projects per se, is strategic positioning in the marketplace, right? In terms of there's actually less risk, more opportunities playing a trade facilitator role than playing the role of, project initiator, executor, everything. right? Which is where people, the way you win in international trade is to bring as many people into the room as possible. If you don't bring many people who have capacity and experience and skills, you will bear 100% of the risk. The success of international trade projects actually is tied to the capacity of the people putting it together. And the bigger the risk, the bigger the stakeholders, the strength of the stakeholders you need to be bringing together. So it's just what you're saying right now is one of the basic 101s do not do, in my opinion, particularly if you're not a Fortune 500 company that actually have the balance sheet to bear all the risk of any type of major international projects. And I wouldn't be surprised, probably that's also why some financing here in the US will shy away from backing you, because they want to see a whole lot of stuff, right? They want to see the easiest thing actually is to be supporting someone on ground doing the work and you backing them, right? Versus you being here trying to manage an international project, going back and forth, looking for financing, looking for this, looking for that, looking for this. It's a pain. It's a painful. I can only imagine. I don't want to be in that. That's not what I would recommend my clients to do, particularly when there are multiple projects you could be managing at once versus putting all your eggs in one basket. And if that project goes right, not too good, then you're back to zero, starting all over again. Versus playing more of a facilitator and handling more of a portfolio if you have the skills to juggle that and then bringing people together. But I don't know if any of the things I just shared even resonates at all.
Yeah, I definitely understand what you're saying. I do have people on the ground that I'm also supporting as well. I'm just also um, hands on from the aspect of ensuring all the resources are available to position us to take advantage of partnerships that we've established and just kind of seeing all that through. Unfortunately, from my experience, it's been a little bit more difficult for my partners, both here in the US and those that are on the ground there, to be seen as being competent without them hearing, unfortunately, American voice. And to that extent, being a Black American here, there's a lot more credence given to conversations that I have with people in the international finance realm or resources realm whenever they hear an African voice. So we've used that to our advantage to position ourselves pretty well. But I definitely do understand and have some insight into the great feedback that you've provided so far.
Yeah, and what you're saying is if it hasn't shifted, it's shifting rapidly in terms of whether it's an African voice or right in the world that I live right now. That maybe years ago, yes, right, but that stuff is eroding quickly, very very quickly. The strength of the African voice is getting stronger, particularly. I mean, the role I play even here, right? I command incredible voice, and so I get that legacy. The real problem is not just the African voice. The real problem is pure form capacity. If you're an African with capacity, people would give you what you want. If you're an African, or even if you're anybody in the world and you don't have capacity and you cannot represent yourself very well and you don't have the skills and you don't have the knowledge, nobody's backing you. So I will actually play down that entire, you know, storyline of African or no African, because at the end of the day, no matter who you are, if you don't sound credible, if you don't sound confident, if you don't sound like you know what you're talking about, nobody's paying attention in the business, trade, and investment world, right? Nobody. So it's less of accents or being African, and to me, it's more of capacity. The people you're talking about cannot enter into the room, right, and negotiate. They don't have the skills. So it's actually not whether they're African or not. But typically, people tend to say it's, oh, the African doesn't have this, African. No, 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 no. If you have capacity, anywhere in the world, if you have capacity and you can demonstrate that you know what you're saying and you're fully confident and you have the voice and the whatever it is, due diligence will pass you through, then anywhere in the world, it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter your voice. But if you put together a team of Africans that do not have that knowledge, capacity, strength, confidence, then absolutely they wouldn't even come into the rooms where I'm hosting summits. Nobody will pay attention to them, because I do host Africa's elites, at the highest levels, right? They fly into my event and things happen in those rooms. But if you go with mid or low level people that cannot go into a room with an ambassador or go into a room with a trade financing institution and understand the language of trade financing, import export project, then no, nobody wants that. So I guess for me, I'm just saying it has not to do. I don't think it has to do with accent. It has to primarily capacity, experience demonstrated previously that people can trust, because international trade is 100% on trust. If you come in and nobody can trust you, that what you're saying, you mean what you say, and you mean and you say what you mean, not the conversation doesn't go further. So that's my own personal experience in the world that I live. Is it's it's not, and this is why I teach, this is why I coach, because everybody wants to do international trade, but I say you've got to build yourself. You have to develop your right, your experience. You have to develop meaningful relationship. You have to have credibility. You have to have business structure. You have to have believability. Somebody's got to believe you, right? Somebody's got to believe you. Somebody's got to see you. And that confidence is what people are seeing. Doesn't matter who people are. It's the fact that you have the confidence, you have the capacity, you can represent yourself well, you can negotiate. That is what opens the door in this world. It's not just that accent or not. So that's my own experience.
Okay, thank you for sharing. That's very, very helpful.
Oh, I mean, thank you for that. But it's just there's a lot of mm, there's a lot of history, right, when it comes to African trade and all of those things. But for me, I try to demystify all those things because I play at the highest levels, and the doors open up when you know what you're saying and you have capacity and you have experience. But not many people invest in building themselves or investing in their team. So their team cannot represent the work in the rooms that matter, right? With the language, there's a language behind all of these things. And an average person or an average African may not have that experience. So I get it, which is why, a lot of the educative resources, summits, events, TV shows, classes, courses, all those things that I teach. I served as a strategist at Fortune 1 Walmart. So I also sit on the board of a $1 billion business. So I get it. And it's one of the reasons I encourage people to show up, build strength, build capacity, because the only people that matter when deals are happening and deals are being structured are actually people who know what they're doing, who have a clue, right? And who have confidence and can bring people together and make things happen. That's the requirement at the end of the day. It's not
Oh,
gender, it's not race, it's not accent. It's actually, capacity. And capacity is where I see the gap. That's the number one challenge that I see. Because I also host rooms, I host events. And so people come into my rooms as well, come into my summits, they fly in. And to your point, it's 100% like my platforms are like I'm an African American doing this stuff, and so in a way, my platforms are open to all people. However, what I always keep drumming is coming prepared, coming with strength, coming with confidence, coming to negotiate, right? Because the types of people in the room are actually the ones that can unlock opportunities big time, right? In 2019, one of my summits in Chicago, I introduced US Exim and African Exim, and in December they closed the 500 million MOU deal. So those rooms, magic happens in those rooms because we work with key stakeholders that their signatures make things happen, right? So I always encourage other people that want to participate. Like, listen, no, nothing is stopping you except you. There's nobody in the world that can stop anybody. Not today, anyway. Not 2023. But what would totally stop anybody is knowledge, capacity, resources, relationships. That's the big stuff that nobody wants to look at, but we blame everything else other than that. Anyway, I don't know if you have any particular specific questions for me before I close out the room today.
I would be interested. I know you talk about courses and things like that. I have a pretty extensive pedigree and experience. Just speaking from experience, and I'm always looking to have other opportunities to connect. You said you provide courses, trainings. I'm open to see what all you have to offer, be willing to pay. Always looking to broaden my perspective. And so, do you offer anything like that? And I'm saying that because I'm in a neighboring state of yours. I'm in Indiana. So you're in,
Oh,
yeah,
interesting.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I have a, let's just say, humbly speaking, um, I have a lot of connections, a lot,
Hmm.
but not extensive from the continental standpoint, but I have extensive
Hmm.
connections in various industries in the US where my name has garnered a lot of opportunities for me from work that I've done. Nothing from
Hmm.
a parental standpoint, but yeah, I sit in a pretty nice spot right now. Um, from a work production standpoint, financial standpoint, and
Hmm.
from this position, what I've been building over the past 10 years, people I've been training and mentoring on the continent. I'm very pleased with their capabilities and skills, but I do not have the network on the continent that I want. I've been invited to some conferences through the African Development Bank and the Ivory Coast. Whenever I graduated from college years ago, I won a fellowship from IBM to go spend a year in Southern Africa, and so I've been focused more on establishing my skills and abilities from a U.S. standpoint. But where I'm going, it would always be good outside of the initial context that I have. Like I said, very high positions within African Development Bank. Been asked to go and meet with them and talk with them to extend that network, but it just wasn't the time for me now. But that time is now more towards my advantage. And so, hearing you talk, hearing you share, do you offer any kind of mentoring opportunities, any kind of courses, just to kind of expand? And I'm willing to pay. I'm not asking for free.
Oh, sure. For me, so what's different for me is aside from the platforms and the events where you come as you are, pretty much come with your own experiences. Over the years, I've realized that we could help people, right? Because when I'm hosting events, right, we create the platforms and we invite everybody to come in. At those
Yeah,
events, I'm not training, but because I've seen that gap, part of what I've done is to develop specific training for specific um, opportunities, right? Like I'm sharing, it's about taking opportunities and making them transactions, right? So my training
exactly.
are really around transactions. So for example, my background is supply chain logistics, working for Walmart. So one of the training, which is part of the opportunity, because everybody generalizes, I try to narrow down to something you can actually do, right?
Exactly.
Now and
Yep.
long term. So one of them is around if you wanted to export, let's say commodity, right, outside of from Africa into the US market,
Sure.
right? So African exports into the US, that is a major, 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 major opportunity, right? So everything you need to consider the trade policies,
Sure.
supply chain logistics, pricing strategy, right? The role of the exporter, the role of the importer, clearing cost, like those type of
Yeah.
specific
Okay.
things.
Sure.
Yeah, that's one. There's another one where it's like, again, very specific. If you're a stakeholder in the US and you want to go into Africa, so market entry strategies, how do you perceive the continent, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Where are the opportunities? How do you navigate that, right? So I put
Sure.
my years of experience to say, okay, this is market entry strategy. This is how I would say consider approaching the continent, looking at the different things happening, whether it's B2G, B2B, B2C, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
whether the government is your client, whether it's a business that is going to buy from you, or you're trying to distribute consumer products, right?
Yep.
The strategy is not the same,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's another one. And then the third one, which is actually my favorite, because I actually deliver the same class to government officials, like across the continent, the trade ministries, like trade officers in the trade ministries, right? I've at least 14 countries I've gone through that particular training, and it's what I call trade and investment facilitation. So it's really government or business stakeholders, that they are not the buyer, they are not the seller, but they are the orchestrator. They are the ones bringing all stakeholders into the room to make sure a transaction happens,
Right.
right? And part of what I try to lay out in that class, for example, is foreign aid versus foreign trade. Where does the money come from?
Right.
Right? Right. What transaction? You have to be clear if you're in a foreign aid engagement, because you have to be looking to specific stakeholders for money versus if it's foreign trade, pure form trade, business to business, right? So those are the three core international trade classes, and I can put the link up. And then in addition to those three core, I actually have the Entrepreneurs Academy, right? I'm
Sure.
also an author. I teach mindset of an entrepreneur. I teach at business schools as well.
Mm-hmm.
What happened is, after developing those three core classes, I realized that the people that can actually make the best of those three classes, they first have to have strong business foundation,
Yep.
right? Because
Yep.
international trade is like the Olympics of business. It's
Yep.
literally the Olympics of business. So what I then did is that I literally built an entire academy that has over 300 training, you know, classes, courses, um, business journal articles, to help people go from 0 to 100 quickly,
Mm-hmm.
right? If branding, marketing, right? Because once you go into international trade, it's now not just sales, it's international sales. It's not just marketing, it's international marketing. It's not just this, it's not right. It
Right.
gets more advanced, cross-border transaction. But
Yep.
helping people right here in the US that want to build businesses, and then if they want to consider going international, definitely, but strengthening that mindset of an entrepreneur. Because what I found is that many people come into these conversations around trade with Africa. Historically, it's come they come with help us, help this, hold this, Africa is this, right? But that stuff does not work
Yep.
where we're going,
Mm-hmm.
right? So many people are attracted to the events, but people have never built businesses before. They don't know the
Right.
ABCD, the financials, marketing, strategic positioning, branding, and all of those things matter. So in addition to the three international trade classes, I also have a school for entrepreneurs where I teach mindset, I teach even energetic, becoming a sales, it's like being a sales and business professional, because that's what it takes, right? So those are the what I would call the four pillars of educative resources that I have: the three international trade opportunities, and then the school for entrepreneurs. And I'll put the link up above, right? Um, and yeah, it's I've written extensively about what's going on again. The opportunities abound.
Yeah. Sure.
Listen,
Sure.
if you
Yep.
want to go to, there's nothing stopping us except figuring out what we ought to be pursuing and which one
No.
will get us the results we want quickly.
No. Definitely. No. Definitely. I appreciate you sharing with me, just in all transparency as well. Like I partner with a friend of mine. He's a head schoolmaster for a private school in California, and we've from looking at it from the African American context, all right, and looking at creating investment opportunities for those who aren't aware of the opportunities that the power of their dollar presents. We've created a doing business in Africa course, and we have not launched it yet because I want to nail down this project I've been working on so that there's a clear path from a transparency and trust standpoint for the network I have to see what doing business in Africa looks like. All right, and so I'm glad to hear what you've been working on. I definitely, let's just say right now, probably in the next 6 months to a year, I would definitely like to talk with you about collaborating in a mutually beneficial way. Our end goal is in having people go through this actual course. It demystifies their mindset from the negatives about doing business in Africa. We have different aspects of that that deals with the social, the psychological, emotional aspect on why there's this division created between Africans and African Americans. But then we go into the step by step process of what is needed in order to, if you wanted to go through this course and become an actual investor, what does that look like? Would you like to be an entrepreneur? What does it look like? If you want to be a lifelong learner, you just want to keep taking these courses, be a part of up to date news of things that are going on the continent from a business aspect standpoint or cultural standpoint, there would be an opportunity for you to participate at that level. But the goal would literally be to establish value added manufacturing or whatever type of other businesses on the continent, because I am in the midst of forming those partnerships as we speak. And so, definitely, if you're open, I wanted to share that up front just so that you kind of knew the angle that I
Oh,
was coming
yeah.
from. I
No,
would love
and I
to,
appreciate that. For
yeah,
me, listen, we've been at this for years, right?
yeah, yeah,
Literally, the work I've been doing is like creating a new industry that did not exist at all. Like
sure,
literally digging the trenches from zero, right?
yes, yes,
And what's for me is the push is that we need more people that are educated,
yes, yes.
right?
I'm right there with you.
Like
I'm right
that
there
are
with you.
that are informed,
Yes,
eyes wide open.
yes, yes,
Like
yes,
don't be a the don't be a no don't all of the narrative out there is putting
yes,
creating a blind, you don't know, you're actually
exactly.
ignorant,
Yes, yes,
right? We have too many ignorant people,
yes,
right, who have been um how do I say this, consciously subconsciously trained to be
yes.
ignorant.
No, no, seriously. No, yes,
Yeah.
yep,
So for me, the whole reason I do everything I do is enlightenment, is wealth creation education, right? Because wealth creation education is not in the traditional curriculum. You could have 10 degrees, and I
I
have
agree.
two. I have 2 degrees,
Yeah, I
okay?
agree.
You can literally invest 20, 24 years pursuing ABCD, geometry, engineering, whatever, arrive at the
Yes,
top of that pillar and have zero idea how to build
yes,
wealth.
yes,
Facts,
yes,
right?
yes.
So part of the journey, this is why for me, it almost feels like every single day we're uncovering like entrenched mindsets challenges
Yeah, for
for
sure.
me
I agree.
every day, every day, right? So I started with let's go international, the most advanced side of all of these things, only for me to realize that we need to strengthen the foundation of the
Mm-hmm.
people that would actually be able to do this well.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so I had to walk my way
No, it's
back,
fine. No, it's good. It's good.
right? Because the rooms I was creating, right, from the very, very beginning, I was bringing in buyers, the biggest buyers in the world. I was bringing in trade finance and the biggest finance. I was bringing in, right, exporters. And I realized, wait a minute, we have to actually go back, strengthen the foundation before we can actually do these things we want to do. So that's what I've been busy doing for years.
Okay.
And now we have all what I call the ammunition
Mm-hmm.
that anybody that wants to go in, go from 0 to 100, if they're ready to invest their time, energy, and resources to learn, they don't have to spend 5 years learning, right?
Sure.
They don't have to they don't have to spend, and not just, and what you also find on your own journey is that it's not just about the education. The education for us is one pillar. There's also connection. So we actually have online platforms where people are doing business right now. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So there's education, there's connection, because you have to be in proximity of
Yep.
stakeholders for you to build trust.
Correct.
Okay. It's about how do you cultivate relations? How do you meet the right people? How do you cultivate the right relationships with them? So we have platforms for cultivating relationship that deepens trust. We have the education, we have the platforms, and then continuous like interaction. And when I say interaction, it has to do with trade information, continuous flow of trade information, right? It's like
Mm-hmm.
feeding our network the latest, greatest information,
Mm-hmm.
right? That is where my power of media comes in. So I use
Okay.
a ton of media because this is not a one time done deal. Okay,
Right.
let's say you've been educated. Now you know what you ought to do. Okay, now you're in proximity with the stakeholders. But what's the latest, greatest? Where are the opportunities, right? Where are the resources? Who can help you do what? So that is also something with flow, right? So for example, my show here, I actually work with the mayor's um communications team here, my TV show. Literally, this month, uh the people coming in, Office of International Trade, SBA from DC, they're coming in, I'm hosting them, I'm interviewing them. This is all content, resources, information that on the surface it may seem like entertainment, but no, it's not. Literally, it's about what does their office do to help businesses expand internationally,
Uh-huh.
right? What resources, who do we need to talk to? Specificity,
Hmm.
right?
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
what do you do? What can you do for me? What can you do for me and my people, right?
Yep. Yep.
And then later on, we're also bringing in my council. Again, I belong to Illinois District Export Council. So there's EXIM, there's
Hmm.
Department of Commerce, then there are private sector investors, right? Right. So we're going to bring them to the show. Also, so it's kind of a fascinating thing that we have to do, right? So I'm just putting this out there for you to know that what I have found in my experience is that those who want to do this work, it's a multi-pronged approach. It's not one,
Sure.
it's not like for me, the easy job for me that I wanted to go in was, oh, hey, you're the buyer. Hey, you're the seller. Let's come together. Let's do this. Dun, 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 done. It's not as easy as that because you
Right.
actually need both sides to be fully educated, right? To be at a advanced, sophisticated level to even understand what they're signing,
Sure.
right? To
Sure.
even understand that. So how do you quickly mature people to be enlightened? How do you connect them to resources, right? Not just resources, connecting them to people as well. So those three things are critically important. It takes literally years, 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 years. And then finally, just giving you this tip as a business advisor is your job gets easier the more you build a strong brand. Not just
Right.
an individual brand, not just you,
Mm.
right? Because there are only so many people you can be chasing all over the world.
Right.
And people in this space, they love you chasing them. The government, like, listen, I'm not chasing nobody. I'm not, you chase me.
Exactly. Exactly.
You come to me. I'll make things happen for you. So just this is the more entrepreneurship mindset standpoint of making sure there's clarity on the value
Hmm.
that you're bringing into the marketplace, the value you're selling, the value you want to
Hmm.
be paid for. I'm just
Hmm.
summarizing 300
Sure.
resources in just that sentence.
Yeah.
Clarity in, right? Here's my value to you, whoever that you is, whether you're talking to a government, da, 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 da. What's my value to you? Okay. What value can I deliver to you? Right? Why is this value important? And this is what I want you to pay me for that value. This sounds easy or simple, but this is the most painful thing people don't know how to figure out.
Yep.
So people would invest time, energy, and resources running around, spinning around, going for meetings, going for this. This person says come, you come. This person says go, you go. You're spending a year running around, and then at the end of the day,
Nothing
what
to show
value did
for
you?
it.
Yeah, what value did you deliver, and what value did you receive?
Yep.
Boom, nothing.
Right.
So I don't get pulled. So while I hear you say partnership, all those things, I don't, I partner with government stakeholders and chambers and all of those things. But what I do is I provide training, coaching,
Okay.
mentorship to those who want to do the stuff, right?
Okay.
Because if
Okay.
someone says they want to partner with me, then I want to say, I want to see, are you bringing equal or greater capacity to me? That's the only time I partner,
Right.
right? If you're bringing equal or greater capacity, then we can partner,
Right.
right? But if you need support, mentorship, training, then we have platforms that will help you do that anyway,
Okay. Okay.
right?
Okay. Yep.
Because this is also part of my training. When you use the word partnership, you've got to precede it with what you're bringing to the table. People throw the word partnership without specifically saying, this is what I can do for you, Tony,
Yep.
right? So so that's because I, again, I teach, all those words, I try to coach my clients to be careful how they use words. Like, the only reason people would say yes to a partnership is when there is clarity on, listen, I can bring, this is what I'm going to bring to the table that makes this partnership um meaningful and valuable to you. And by the way, this is also what I'm looking for you to do, right?
Right.
Or this is what I'm asking for. So when people don't say those two things, I know it's just a play on words. Oh,
Sure.
we'll partner together. I'm like, and I don't bite it, because it doesn't do anything for someone to just say we'll partner. It doesn't mean
Exactly.
anything to me, right?
Yep.
But
Exactly.
it's just one of those things. I've listened in my academy there. I've written about my principles for partnership, because partnership does help us speed up our implementation phase.
Hmm.
So I know the power of partnerships, but I see many people abuse that phrase.
Yeah.
It's not. It's just like, it's one of those things I also say about when people use the word strategy.
Yeah.
Strategy, strategy means nothing if you don't know what it is, and it means everything if you know what it is. I served as a strategist for Fortune 1. When you
Hmm.
know what you're doing, strategy is precision, right? To get specific results, how you're going to put your resources, time, and energy towards focusing on a target and making sure it's the most optimized way of getting that result. So that you're not wasting time, you're not wasting resources, you're not wasting energy, right? That's
Yep.
really the whole point of being strategic. Making sure you're, but people say strategy, and you look at what they're doing, I'm like, you're wasting time, you're wasting energy, you're wasting resources, and yet where are the results?
Yep.
So
Yep.
but people say, oh, this is our strategy. This strategy will not get you what you say you want to get.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Actually, sorry.
anyway,
Go ahead. Oh, go ahead.
no, you're fine. You're fine. So I've put the link up above to the three courses and then the academy. They are on different platforms. And then what also happens is the courses are housed in the business to government platform. So anybody that takes the courses also they would automatically join and be able to network with people. And this is where we've been hosting our events since COVID and all of those things. But I'm back to in-person engagement with my weekly TV show here in the city as well. So people fly in, speakers fly in, maybe from DC, different parts, and then the city also then can participate. We have room. It's like a business talk show, and then the video runs on TV.
Okay. That's
Yep.
pretty awesome.
Oh,
Uh, I,
so much
sorry.
going on. That's why I encourage people to lean in and get involved and offer their support, because there are not enough people serving this new growing industry. Because for me, at the very beginning, there was the only thing you would find would be Washington, DC, talking about aid and government to government. What I've been working on over the past couple of years, over 5 years, is actually designing platforms for the business community. And then we invite government to participate. So it's business led, right? Policy leader supported, versus what you find is policy led, policymaker led, and then businesses are like listening in and trying to figure things out. So
Right.
I flipped that. So the rooms I curate is targeted towards educating and empowering the business, trade, and investment community. But then a lot of the things we need is housed in the government.
Okay. I definitely
Yep.
appreciate you taking the time to present that to me. I know your time is valuable, so
Oh, sure,
definitely,
sure.
yeah. I look forward to connecting at some point in the future, and I appreciate the courses that you provided for me to look through. I already took a look at the
Hmm.
website, and they look good. They look good.
Yeah,
So,
definitely. Yeah, each of, like I shared, those three, they're specific around specific transactions.
hmm.
Exports, exports out of Africa into the US, there are unique opportunities in that space. So my background is supply chain logistics. So I put
Hmm.
a lot of supply chain considerations in there. And then the other one is if you want to import your products and services, and then also if you wanted to facilitate, you want to go be a go between. And outside of those courses, we have more than 50, I mean, what am I saying? More than more than 50 plus um educational um should I say, replays of all the events. So whether it's agriculture, whether it's manufacturing, whether it's textile, all of the videos of all of the summits of all of the experts from World Bank to African Union to US government, every expert we've ever brought in, all of that resource is housed. Okay, it's housed also on the platform. So there's trade information, courses, right? Consider the courses as strategic summary of all kinds of information from everywhere, right? This
Okay.
is like I've gone through it all. I've spoken to this. I've hosted investors this. But this is the key points out of those things. But then definitely if you want to go dive deeper into what this person said about automotive industry or what this person said about textile in East Africa or what this person said about agriculture and mango and this, we have all of that capacity supported on the platform. So that's why the courses are just pointed quick insights courses, master classes, but you can spend the entire year diving into um, all of the resources that is aggregated on our platforms, and then you can also connect with people because one of the first events we literally had 50 speakers, so we feature like 50 speakers, sometimes 30 speakers from World Bank, African, like the who's who in international trade development. Those are the
Hmm.
people we bring together, like the
Okay.
who's who, right? From US governments, Prosper Africa, to Department of Commerce, to well, like, listen, that's the work I do. The who's who in the world of business and government and investment. Like, I sit on the board. We are the single largest private investor in Rwanda.
Hmm.
So it
Hmm.
goes up as high as possible in terms of coffee, just all ways of just advancing international trade development. And for me, anybody that is interested, we're like, are you ready to go? Everything you need over the years, we've put it together to educate you, to enlighten you, to connect you. And so that's why I do what I do, because we need so many people empowered to drive transactions.
Right. Right. That's good. That's awesome. Appreciate you putting forth all that work. I definitely will take a look at it and appreciate your time.
Definitely, no problem. That's it. Maybe I don't even know if this was just for you, but sometimes I come in from time to time to come on Clubhouse just to share, teach, guide. There are a lot of people on these platforms that I wish, or my hope is that we get away from just talking to doing, right? So a lot of times when I come here is to say, hey guys, everything you're saying, oh, the government, the this, guess what? We all need to be busy every single day building the bridges that would help us cross over in terms of into opportunities, wealth creation, wealth builders mindset. And that's just it requires wealth education. We have to educate ourselves because we've been programmed to function as employees, and nothing wrong
Hmm.
with that. I served in corporate for over a decade, right? But in this space, beyond sustenance as employees, there's actually legacy, impact, transformation, and who's going to do that work? The government is
No,
not going to
definitely.
teach you. They can
No.
support you, but they can't teach the business community. We are responsible for economic development, supported by the government. The private
Hmm.
sector does everything. It's the private sector that builds businesses, and the government gets to create enabling environment and supportive services, right? That's it. So it's
No, definitely.
actually it's us. It's on us to do this work.
No, definitely, definitely. I heard you mention something about one of the regions was East Africa. Is that where you're concentrated at?
So so Nazaru focuses across the continent because we have partnership directly with the African Union trade industry, right? The key stakeholders the team that actually put together the AFCFTA. You're familiar with the AFCFTA? So we have partnerships. So whatever we want to do across the continent, we have a point contact that would get us what we need.
Hmm.
But I was just using that example to say I've seen the power of international trade development and economic development because I sit on the board of a business where the story of the start of that. We are now the single largest distributor of tea coffee in the US, but it all and I've featured this story before or at the Trade with Africa Business Summit, right? So one of the things I do is like Tyson Foods, for example. Excuse me, this the past CEO of Tyson Foods, which is a $40 billion chicken business, right? I featured him before. There's also an interview I had with him about Africa, chicken, agriculture, the future, all of those things as well. So I'm
Mhm.
just saying that I've spoken to enough people. I've also said enough of the stakeholders in business and government that um, it's not just East Africa, but I know what's happening. I make it my business to know what's happening because that's what we bring to our clients. Okay,
Mhm.
that market intelligence.
Okay. Okay.
hmm That's the
Okay.
value, right? Market intelligence, relationships, and guidance, right? Don't
Definitely.
don't do, don't do what I wouldn't do. Don't waste your time going down this path. If you want to make money, turn right. Kind of.
Yep. Definitely. Definitely.
Awesome.
No. All
Take
right.
care
With
now. I'm
that,
gonna close. Go
yeah.
on, please.
No, no, no. I was gonna say thank you. I don't want to waste any more of your time. I
Oh,
think.
you're not wasting my time. Listen, this is what
Yeah.
I do. I chose. This is why I do what I do. People like you. So whatever. That's why I'm taking my time. Whatever questions you have. This is why I've invested. Like this is what I do. I need people like you, right? Strengthened, empowered, connected. That way, because whatever it is you're doing, everybody wins,
Yeah. So
right?
so then.
Everybody wins. Like in international trade, you cannot be the only one winning. Nothing happens if you're only trying to win.
Yeah.
You
So
have to
then
help
let.
everybody win.
No, no. Yeah, yeah. So I definitely would like to connect off app, like where I am now. Like literally, um, we are in conversations with banks to get financing. Whenever I say partnership, we are partnered with a company by the name of Olam. I'm not sure if you heard of them. They're on the continent.
The company
Um,
not many people want to love.
of course, yes, yes. And so there's, like I said, there's an initiative that's been going on for about at least 8 years where infrastructure is being built aside from the government to facilitate the agribusiness sector. And of course, having looked deeply into it, I see it as a means to, um, just like there's the exploitation of minerals on the continent, this is going to be the exploitation of um, the arable land, right, and all of the crops that can be produced. But um, the product that we are going to be producing is can be used domestically, and there's a huge market for it, and so we just found a very good sweet spot, and we are in the process of having a facility established, a manufacturing facility established for us in these trade zones, and so that's going to be our first step into um, producing a product that can be sold domestically, and then just using that to spin off into other opportunities. And this actual company has already approached me to partner with them to bring in other agribusiness value added opportunities, and they would provide the infrastructure, airport, highways, connections to seaports. It's like a small town. Since you're in the U.S., you're in Chicago right now. Think about all of the towns that are in the rural areas. That's what they're going to be establishing. And so it's a very familiar business model for me. And a lot of the business models that we set up very easily allow us to run scenarios and different various projections to ensure that it's a value added opportunity for us. And so that's what I've been focused in on specifically. But I have lots of other business plans and projection analysis that I've done just because my background is in technology. There's a lot of other aspects that I'm looking at. So I definitely want to connect. I definitely want to broaden my network. And so, for as much as it's of value to you, I definitely would like to just stay in contact.
Oh, sure, definitely. And the best way to stay connected is really the international trade network. And
Got it?
again, any of the courses will take you in there. You become a member when you take any of the courses are housed on the network because that's where we hold, right? Any type
Mm-hmm.
of conversations, anything that is exclusive, documents received from government, any type of insights, trade information. There's private spaces, private rooms where those things are, and then people access it like downloads and documents. So that it makes my job easy because when people say, "Okay, I want to connect," I don't am I going to remember? No, but the platform you can message me directly on the platform if you remember.
Okay, I'm actually in it now. I'm signing in. Use my credentials, and I'll just look forward to seeing you on the inside.
Oh yes, and there are definitely a ton of other people there. There are government officials there as well. So even though they are hiding and they may not comment, but people who have attended my events, that's where they stay plugged in because when it's actually, believe it or not, it originally started as a WhatsApp group because people will fly in for my annual summits. They would meet the type of people they really want to engage with. And then guess what? They tell me,
What?
Tori, how do we stay connected? We love the people we are meeting. These are the types of people I'm generally speaking everywhere on social. And these are the types of trade investment stakeholders. Can you please keep us all together? So it all started like years ago on my phone. So like WhatsApp group, people would be chatting. Like that stuff didn't work. So I tore down that chat room, and then for years I was looking for a space. I tried all kinds of communities to just keep people together, right? Because I have the email address of I have the contacts of everybody that has ever showed up in my event, all of those things, right? So I have, and these are people from different parts of the world, governments, World Bank, all those people, right? So I have the relationship of as a service to other people. Eventually we then moved into this virtual private community space, and then when COVID hit, it was like a no-brainer. We were able to ramp up so quickly, right? We were able to ramp up and move our events online as well. And now,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm working on my TV show, um, I didn't host the summit because it's almost like I'm hosting the summit, but I'm making it every week instead of just one. Because to plan those summits, to take it an entire year, it's 9 months. It's
Sure.
taking less and less and less because now all I have to do is blast my email. We have the database already. But my priority for the next 6 months is strengthening the TV show, the business talk show, making sure it's kind of similar as my summit, but this time around I'm bringing in the stakeholders one after the other instead of everybody coming together. I'm bringing in one by one each week, interviewing them, getting like audience interaction. Then we have that recorded and then goes on TV, goes on our platform as well. So it's going to be exclusive to my members as well who can access what the government is saying, right? So yeah, so that's my priority over the next 6 months. And then next year, hopefully we can all get back again in person. But anyway, every day things are happening on the platform. It doesn't have to be, it's people that are not there that may not have visibility to what we're doing. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
thank you for the time. Definitely, thank you for stopping by. I'm glad I came into this space today because
No,
again,
definitely.
yeah,
I appreciate
this
it,
is the,
and
yeah.
yeah, you will see me on the site.
Oh
I'm
sure,
just
sure.
downloading
Just
my picture right now.
look for my name, Tony Umesiri. You're gonna find me everywhere anyway because most of the posts you just see my name. You can just direct message me on the platform anytime.
Okay, appreciate you. Have a great day, and best of
You too,
luck.
sir. God
All
bless
right,
you. Bye.
all right, bye.